Welcome to Winning Strategies Playbook, the podcast where we welcome business leaders, CEOs, and industry experts to discuss the rise to the top, building wealth, and real estate insights. Here's your host, Jeremy Spann.
Welcome to the very first episode of Winning Strategies Playbook. We're really excited about our very first guest, three brothers. None of them have turned 40 yet. They grew up in humble beginnings in a 1,500 square foot house, all went to Texas A&M, started off in the insurance industry in a one storefront shop, grew it into a publicly traded company that is a powerhouse that dominates in this space. You're going to hear the journey of where they came from to how they got to where they're at and where the future is going to lead them. We're really excited that you get to meet the Colby Trifecta. And this week, we want to highlight the small business of the week, Carter's Coffee. My good buddy, Troy Kunkel, fellow TCU alumni, started this drive-through coffee shop. We'll put the link in there where you can find it. Go by if you're in Fort Worth or by the TCU area. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. Welcome to the episode. Let's get started.
The Colby Trifecta. I mean, actually, anytime I think about you guys, I think about that scene in Good Will Hunting. Did you ever see that?
Which one?
Where, the one where he goes, "No, I've got like 12 brothers," and he just starts rattling off.
Mikey, Tommy, Ricky, Tommy, Timmy.
So like, we got Mikey, Matt, and Mark, and you just,
That's weird because you think about us a lot too.
Oh man, like in more ways than you want to be broadcasted on a podcast, I can promise you. So to start this thing out, so my father-in-law and I were having dinner last night. He said, he's an old retired engineer. He said, if you're going to do this, you got to do a joke. So I'm going to do a joke on all my podcasts. Y'all ready for this?
Go for it.
Why are toilets always so good at poker?
Now we get this one.
Do you want me to take a legitimate guess, or just you want to make a punchline? I don't know. I don't know. I have to think.
Because they always get flush.
Oh, that's good.
My mom would like that. She likes funny jokes.
It's like the cheesy dad jokes, right?
Yeah, that's
just trying to make each other laugh.
We have a game in the house where I try to predict the answer to Laffy Taffy jokes on the Laffy Taffy rapper.
Yeah, what's your over and under on that?
You know what? I probably hit it about 40% of the time.
40. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Sometimes I come up with better answers to the joke than the joke actually had. And I have to look for Kyle in Ohio, 8 years old, and tell him how shitty his joke was and how much better my answer was. But
man, I mean, that's the way I feel about business, right? I just make my own way up, right? Yeah. They're like, is that for sale? And I'm like, everything's for sale, baby. A buddy of mine wanted to buy the house next to me. He goes, is that for sale? And I was like, everything's for sale. We walked over with an offer, and my neighbor just goes, you got a pen? I was like, I mean, he signed it right there on the spot.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
So, man, Colby brothers, man, I tell you what, this is, and I was joking around with you on the phone yesterday about this. Y'all are more like three best friends than three brothers. I don't know anybody that are three siblings and all get along. You're right. I'm sure you have your moments.
We're four siblings. We have a younger sister too.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Same thing applies.
Yeah, that's right.
We're best friends.
That's right.
My best friends.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's what I've always, not only that y'all get along so well, but y'all work together. Mm-hmm. You built this company that is just soaring. And while everybody else in March of 2020 turned on Netflix and Hulu, you guys went to work. So
well, I think nothing really changed for us with the COVID stuff. I mean, we had to change some things logistically for sure. I mean, luckily we had made a bunch of investments early on. We were totally prepared to move to the virtual world. Actually, I was telling someone today, I think probably one of the smartest moves we made during COVID was when Moxley, one of our senior VPs, great guy. You probably know Michael Moxley. He came with his IT folks and said, we're good virtually. That's not going to be a problem. I'm very confident we can operate virtually. He said, what's going to really trip us up is we're going to hire a lot of people the remainder of the year. In fact, I think we've onboarded over COVID over 500 people. So we're playing offense for sure. However, we had to buy pull forward all of our inventory of technology equipment. So laptops, computers, headsets, phones, because that is where the supply chain got jacked up.
Oh, yeah.
And had we not done that and had boxes everywhere in all of our empty space in our offices, boxes just stacked to the ceiling, we wouldn't have been able to continue to grow. So it's interesting. I was talking to someone today. That really, I mean, probably gets overlooked, and we need to make sure we recognize the right folks on that. But that, to me, was the key to being able to actually pull off a COVID kind of growth strategy.
Right.
Was computer equipment. We're sourcing everything from Lenovo, Chinese, computer company, and that allowed us to not just say, hey, we're gonna keep our heads above water, but to continue to grow. And we posted it into the second quarter. What was our total written premium growth? Mid to high 40s through, and that included April, which was a super challenging month because everybody in the industry, everybody in the industries that we support, it froze. And you probably experienced that too.
Yeah.
Granted, we had a huge rebound in May and June, but yeah, it was I guess we couldn't have anticipated that, but smart move on those folks.
Yeah, it's going to hurt their ability to phase people back in too. Office furniture is being on back order, all types of equipment. You can't go view commercial leases in a lot of cities and states.
There's going to be, I think, some unintended, not unintended, but unpredicted headwinds that we're going to face in reopening the economy. But overall, I think we're really, really optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, we're one of the few companies. Most companies are pulling their guidance or lowering it. We actually raised it in the second quarter, and we're confident in what's ahead for us. So.
Yeah, I think I was looking. I was because I had like on my Wall Street Journal. I've got like a couple. I watch a lot of real estate stuff, but I've always got y'all at the top. Y'all are my friends, and I want to see what's going on. And like this is, like like on September 3rd, I was really pissed at myself. You know what I'm talking about? What happened for you guys on September 3rd, right? Because here it was, is we were positioned pretty well. We're not your average real estate team living and dying by each deal being done. I mean, we've done, just recently, they tracked our trailing 12 months. We've done over 42 million in sales, right? Which for Fort Worth is pretty
huge.
Pretty
Congrats.
impressive. It's a lot of transactions, right? And so we were, we weren't hurting on cash when COVID hit. And it was funny. So I talked to my wealth manager and I said, hey, listen, I need to buy some Goosehead stock. And he's like, yeah, and he ran the traps on it. And, he's like, yeah, I feel really good about this. And then right when that moment happened, that's when I had my epiphany of like, hey, this is what we're going to do for business, And then I got so distracted by it, that I was looking at you guys all the time. And then on September 3rd, when I saw that thing hit like 112.50, I could have bought in at like 30. I was like, God.
We can't make any buy or sell recommendations.
No, I know that.
But here's what I'll say: we remain, obviously very invested in the stock personally, and professionally. I mean, we have a lot of fun, doing what we do. But the people who I'd say bet against us, they've never won. So,
well, I mean, having fun. I mean, the three of y'all could have fun at a funeral. Right.
But one thing on the COVID deal, we run a high performance, high octane culture, and you say like you guys decided to do this. It's interesting to me because I don't think there was any decision to do anything. It's just what you do, right? You continue to perform at a high level because you're always going to have things thrown at you, right? Whatever the obstacle is, you're going to have it thrown at you, and I can't think of a point in that process where we're working together as a management team and saying, we got this headwind coming at us, we got this uncertainty coming at us. What do we do? Well, there's only one thing to do, right?
You have people work.
You have people that rely on you, customers that rely on us. Because let me tell you, hailstorms aren't going to stop during COVID, right? Those customers rely on you. We have mortgage lenders. The mortgage activity is off the charts right now. They rely on us to help them close their loans, and what a challenging environment to close a loan in, as you are well aware. Our insurance carrier partners, our share, we have stakeholders that rely on us, and you do what you always have to do is you deliver. No matter what's getting thrown at you, got to figure out a way to deliver, and that 100%. Was really, I think, just culturally something I'm really proud of as an organization. Is that defines who we are as an organization. It
highlighted what you already did. Right.
It emphasizes, kind of I'd say, certainly kind of emphasizes how differentiated and sometimes we take that for granted.
Yeah.
But nobody in the organization is sitting here saying, well, I'm frozen, right? I don't know what to do. It's no, we have commitments. We got an obstacle. Let's figure out a way around it, and let's continue to deliver for folks. So that was, I think something we're really proud of. It's just the way our entire team responded to that. And again, we have high expectations and think very highly of our people, but really just knocked it out of the park.
Hey, speaking of that, your boy Elliot,
Oh yeah.
man,
Oh yeah,
that dude,
He's the man.
rock star, yeah.
he is a rock star.
Elliot Bush.
Yeah.
He's been working with you for over a year now, right?
Yeah, so it's about probably coming on about a year, and it's really funny. It's a really close friend of mine. He's got an insurance company, and he is here today. And naturally, I'm married to him because he's my boy. But I tell you,
Everything's got a price, though, right?
and he's probably listening to this going, "Hey, you tool," But man, Elliot, he jumps in here just like my buddy John. He'll jump in here, but man, Elliot, that guy is just a level of hungry, and his follow up is incredible.
That's
right?
the culture. We hire young, smart, aggressive, people who are out there to make a difference.
Yeah.
And Elliot certainly embodies all that.
Man, I tell you, and it's just, it's really funny. Like even like we were talking outside, here it is. I've got my house in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, up there, and walking down the street, and I'm like, it's a Goosehead. So I was like, little photo and drop in our group thread, which is probably the only appropriate thing that's been dropped in that group thread. We won't even unpackage that one today. But so you guys, this podcast is just it's really less about Goosehead, even though that's the plug we give for it. This is more about your guys' journey.
Sure.
I mean, y'all have like one of the most incredible stories that, not just being three brothers that got along and are friends and worked together and built this company, but let's talk about growing up, right? So Dad was a police officer.
That's right.
Right.
San Antonio Police Department.
Yeah. What was
20
Mom
years.
doing?
She was a stay-at-home mom at the time.
Yeah.
She's a nurse by trade and education. Went back to nursing bedside once we were kind of out of the house, or at least out of the hair most days of the week.
Yeah.
High school around that time. I think that's how they met. I think my dad got injured on the force, and she was in the hospital he was at.
That's how most cops meet their wives, by the way.
You're all hitting on the nurses when you get beat up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was a police officer, I dated a lot of nurses. And then I met Laura.
Yeah. But no, it was a humble beginnings, and you say, how do you guys grow up so close? And I say it's easy. Don't have a lot of money and share a room until you're 17.
Family of six. We grew up in a house, in a very I'd say modest part of town, 1,500 square foot home. We shared a room.
For six of y'all.
Through high school,
three of us shared a room.
partially in college.
Yeah, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and then that didn't stop after our kind of elementary years, with high school, college.
Yeah, when you don't have every toy on the planet, it's go outside and please don't come back for a few hours if you're our mom. And so, you play together, you spend all your time together, talking, like you would with your roommates in college till, 2 a.m, just shooting the breeze, and you're in bed till you fall asleep. And that was just kind of our life for a long time. And I think it really does kind of form a relationship that you can't get just,
Yeah.
in any other scenario.
Well, it's interesting too because all of our friends are like really close friends with each other too. So it doesn't just stop with the brothers, right? So
Yeah.
Mike's good friends are my good friends, and vice versa.
Our friend network spans like an age range that's
Yeah.
at this point now probably
Mid-20s
years,
to-
mid-20s to
Like Donald.
50, 55.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Donald. Well, Donnie was a great friend of ours through high school, and then he moved up to College Station to go to school with us, and was our 4th roommate for.
By the way, that's the most expensive friend I have. As my lawyer, right?
I was talking today, man. I never know when the billing meter's on and when it's off.
Oh no! Let me tell you how this goes.
Is it always on?
I see Donald Koskowski pop up on my phone, and I instantly hit a text. is this about business or is this about fantasy football? And if he's like business, I'm like, hold on, let me get my hour's worth of questions that I'm gonna want answered since I'm gonna get the bill for the hour, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean he's awesome. I mean he's the reason I met you guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And he's just
There's a handful of guys that you know, we each kind of have a friend or a mutual friend that's almost like that fourth Colby. Every one of us was in his wedding. He was in every one of ours. So, so yeah, it's pretty cool. And
and those friendships have survived. It's been great. I mean, what I love about our friend group is, you know, it's been intact for a really long time.
Yeah.
And if you look across that spectrum, these you know, all these guys, you know, and gals have been incredibly successful in their own right. And I don't think it's a coincidence, right? I think having that strong relationship and grounded in your roots and, you know, where you're from and having people there who really know you and really challenge you, and I think that has a lot to do with you know my success. Certainly, I get challenged by my friends, my brothers, and I'd like to think that we challenge our friends in the same way.
You don't get an inch. I mean, I know I do. I've seen friends who are in outside groups just making decisions that in our group of friends, your friends would never let you make life decisions like that, or at least without saying their piece, right? And you know, everyone's discussing, well, how do we tell them this? How do we tell them that? I was like, the fact that this is even a discussion
you just tell them,
is weird. Yeah,
You owe it to them.
So, and we have that kind of group. We all hold each other accountable. We all set the bar very high for, you know, how we expect people to kind of be almost, you know, and I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if that's right.
I always say
it's like iron sharpens iron. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And people ask me, you know, all the time, especially kind of young kids starting their careers in business, and they say, what are some of the most important areas that you should invest in to develop and to be successful as a professional? And I always say definitely first is relationships, because all those relationships that we've had that have survived decades now, it's because we've invested in those heavily. Sometimes when it's not convenient, you know, or sometimes when, you know, you put your own self at risk, you know, for your friends. But that investment in those relationships, I think, is invaluable. And it's I think core to if I look across a spectrum of people that I know, not only that are really successful in whatever trade they're in, but people that I'd want to be like and people that are happy and fulfilled, they all have deep and long-lasting relationships with people, and they invest in those relationships. So it's I think it's great to see, you know, our buddies, you know, doing so well.
So my litmus test for who qualifies as a good friend is if they called me at 2:00 in the morning and said, can you bring some shovels, body bags, and no questions? And my only response is, I'll grab a case of beer too.
Was the first hole I ever dug?
Got to get a Goodfellas quote in there for Donnie, because you know he's going to hear it.
He's going to be mad. He'd be like, why am I not on the podcast?
It is, man. Good friends hold each other accountable to be good friends, and it is. You got to be there for your people when the chips are down. And that's who knows fits, right?
Yeah. So I always call you guys the Irish triplets. What is the age, the months difference?
2 years, basically.
2 grades.
2 grades?
2 grades.
Yep.
More or less.
Your
Mike
sister's
and I
18 months.
18 months.
No, we're 27 months.
No.
81, 83, April to June.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
You guys
thought we were less
are
than 2
probably
years.
about the same.
Yeah,
You're
We're
81,
18 months.
83.
We're 18 months. We're 27.
No, we're like 21
So I
months.
just
and then
we were
Lauren
hearing
and I
all
are
these
18 months.
80s numbers since
I thought we were within
apparently
2 years. I don't know why.
My daughter, she said on my birthday this year, she goes, you know, Dad, you're closer to death than birth now.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, man. I think you're gonna. Your level of income and medical technology, you're gonna live to 250, 300.
man, I appreciate that. That's in about 18 months. So 81, 83,
85.
85. God, 85. Man, so
And our sister Lauren is 84.
86.
87.
Yeah.
What did you say? 80,
85.
85. She was 86.
She's 86. She's 18 months younger.
Because
than me.
they're the more closer to the Irish twins than the brothers are. We're further apart.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's right. She is
speaking
86.
of ages, so I was at the liquor store, of course, the other day.
Are we talking whiskey age now?
We're talking, you know,
Whiskey
I know y'all's collections really are enough to dwarf my entire net worth. I'm going through and it says, "Are you old enough?" thing at specs, right? And then it dawned on me that starting January 1st, somebody born in 2000.
Yeah.
It's legal to buy alcohol.
Yeah, they had that little countdown thing at the stores.
2000.
Isn't that crazy?
What?
Well, we hire, and with the anniversary of September 11th being recent, I always think about that. We have people that work for us today that were
Not born.
toddlers,
Yeah.
toddlers in during 9/11, and my kids obviously they weren't born then. They're studying 9/11 at school, and it's living through that. And I wasn't in New York.
Next year
I
we'll
was
have
in Texas, but it's so vivid to me.
Next year we'll have
Yeah.
people who weren't born yet working.
But
in our
yeah,
company.
to not have experienced that, it's crazy because it does shape your worldview so much. I know for me, that really kind of shaped shaping my worldview. And these kids coming in were 4 or 5 years old. It's just bizarre. And it makes you feel old too.
Oh, yeah. I don't even listen here. 81. I don't even want to hear that right now. So my daughter was born in 2001, January 8, 2001, and so it's just weird that she was born the same year, like how all this happened, and then to honor that 9/11 this year, I had a friend of mine that asked me to officiate his wedding last Friday, and I just want you to know, I totally killed it.
So are you ordained as an officiant
Let me
now?
tell you how long that takes. It's 5 minutes online. 4.5 minutes of that is entering your credit card information.
But no tax breaks.
Yeah. So prior
Reverend Spann.
Oh yeah. So prior to the music going, I stand up and I said, "Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting ready to start the ceremony and just a few housekeeping things. Cocktails here, blah 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 blah." And I said, and there's at a point I'm going to be asking if anybody does not believe that this couple should be married. I would just like y'all to remember 2 things during this. 1, I'm a United States Marine, and 2, choose your words carefully.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of got a good kick out of that.
I've yet to be at a wedding where someone objected. I actually want to witness that. I mean, not that you'd wish that on anyone, but I want to witness that uncomfortable situation
Actually,
personally.
I think it'd be great for that to happen to one of our friends. I would love to witness that.
Oh,
that's bucket list. It'd probably be round 2 for those buddies, but
Yeah, no, that would be epic. Then he'd be like,
yeah.
And then he can never live it down.
oh,
right?
no. I mean, that's like, hey, I told you not to invite your ex to the wedding.
Yeah, in front of the whole wedding. On the day of the wedding.
Oh man. So you guys, you're all Aggies,
That's
so
right, yeah.
y'all got some incestual thing going on over there, Texas A&M. So, and at one point y'all were all there at the same time, right?
We
my
overlapped
freshman year.
for just 1 year.
Yep.
All 3 of us
Because
overlapped
I was in
for Mark's
graduate
freshman
school
year.
for 1 year that Mark was a freshman. Yeah, we all lived in the same place too.
And Donnie.
And Donnie.
Yeah. Well, and then the 3 of us
And
brothers, we had a duplex. So me, Mike, Donnie, and another childhood friend of ours, another 2 childhood friend of ours lived on one side of the duplex. When the girls moved out on the other side, Mike and Mark and I moved in on one side, and Donnie and our other friend stayed on one. So we had
Basically
7 guys who'd known each other
6
for-
baths.
Yeah.
That was great.
How did you get any schoolwork done at that point?
You had to go to the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're pretty motivated to study when you're broke,
Yeah.
and you don't like being broke.
And you're like, well, I got nothing to do but get A's because I don't have any money to go drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're working all the time.
Yeah.
We all worked.
We all worked
Yeah.
worked through college too.
Yeah. It was like my daughter. She's, we just dropped her off for her sophomore year at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. And everybody likes to ask, what's she majoring in? I'm like, having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm spending my money, having a good time. But that's what I want it for,
How's that going with the COVID?
So, man,
Are they physically
are.
live in class?
Some classes she's there.
Yeah.
Some are online. After Thanksgiving, everything's online till the spring. And and it's really kind of funny is, you always hear people grumble, oh, this generation, blah, blah, blah. Man, I got to say, this younger generation is pretty resilient.
What's the generation after the millennial?
It's Y.
Gen
So
X or
Gen-
Y?
No.
What is it?
I'm X. That's why. No, Gen Z.
Z.
Is it
Yeah,
Gen
Z.
Z?
Gen Z.
So
Gen
we're
Zs?
we're all actually millennials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are technically
Believe it or not,
millennials.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the next generation is Gen Z. Is that what it is?
I guess
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
It's so funny because the millennial generation, I think, has gotten a bad rap and I used to be one of the biggest haters until I learned that it's like 80.
Until you learned you were one?
I was one of them.
Or it was ordering that
Avocado
Italian
toast.
slate for your countertop. Remember that we were out the
But I mean, listen, I think there's some things that we've certainly encountered and some things that I think are unique to that generation, specifically around entitlement. But clearly it's not categorical.
Yeah.
But what I've found about the millennial generation, I think what resonates with me so much is that millennials have to find purpose in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about punching a clock, making a paycheck, earning a pension, right? You have to have that sense of purpose. And as I started to see the millennial generation in that lens, it's really helped me. I mean, because I would
because
say
we were always saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think
we were
I'd
just
say
saying it differently and hearing it differently.
80% of the people that report in to me, which is 700 people now at this stage, 600, 700 that are corporate employees, and then we get franchise owners. They're millennials, and it really was important to help understand that. And I think as we certainly myself and also as an organization learned kind of how to speak to that, I think it's done a lot of good in helping us engage employees better, helping us align interests better. But it's interesting. I'm always just kind of surprised that I'm a millennial, Mark's a millennial, Matt, because we don't really embody a lot of, I think, the stereotypes, which are, I believe, largely inaccurate. But I think there's a lot of good that's come out of this kind of millennial generation that's being continued by the Gen Z. You're right, they're resilient.
They are.
They're mobile. They can change quickly. They adapt. They embrace change quickly, and they work for a sense of purpose. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah. See, like I say that my generation is the one that screwed everything up, right? Like we had less kids than everybody else, so there's a dip, right? But we were the figure it out generation because we were the generation when the internet came out and when cell phones came out and then smartphones. So my generation of folks just has it in their mind, these Gen Xers, right? It was we can figure it out on our own, So like even when I've got someone that's my generation as a client, it's frustrating times. So they're like, I don't even know why I need you. And I'm like, then why are you calling me? Like, why? Well, I'm not here to waste anybody's time, because we can figure it out. The millennial generation got to be born with the smartphones, right? Yeah. So you had access to stuff. So you learned different. And like you said, it's that sense of purpose where I love my millennial clients because
they're efficient.
Oh, not only efficient, but here's the deal is they're like, I can Google what I'm looking for, but I can't Google experience on how to do this the right way. Yeah. So they like the gray hairs, right? To come help them, I would say gray hair with Laura, just still brunette, even though she's a year older, 3 years older than me.
That holds true with a lot of studies we've read. I think the anticipation was that one, that they were never going to buy homes, which we just seen that was just delayed in their lifestyle, right? And
definitely seen that.
And then also that they were going to want to do all of it online, and a lot of the studies we've read, even just on insurance, when you talk about the automation and kind of disintermediation of the insurance agent, it's just not ringing true. They want to do a lot of their studying ahead of time, and then they want to get with the gray hair and experience and license and say, hey,
listen,
how do I complete
this? This is not going to be fulfilling part of my life, right?
Yeah.
I'm about experiences. I'm about going out to dinners and vacations, and the last thing I want to do is spend 8 hours figuring out my insurance.
Yeah.
If I got someone I know and trust that can do it all for me.
I don't even want to do my own grocery shopping, let alone insurance shopping, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I never really thought about that. It's outsource everything world.
Outsource everything world.
Yeah, I've learned that from y'all's generation. I mean, I've matter of fact, I've got an executive coach that I meet with every Wednesday, and which is really funny. So I spend $30,000 a year on a guy that everything he tells me, my wife will tell me for free, right? And so that's what we got to, was learning how to remove me from a lot of decisions, because it was just not the highest and best use of my time. I was joking around with one of my other podcast guests, as I said, I'm a great business owner, but I am a horrible manager. I'm a horrible boss, right? I mean, I'm wired to win. I'm wired to drive. I'm wired to create vision and do all that, but all the detail stuff that comes with that is just
I would disagree with that. I think it depends on how you define kind of leadership is what you're talking about.
Well, there's a difference between managing and leadership, right?
No doubt. There's no doubt about that. And I remember a quote from my dad. You guys probably remember this too. We used to work for my dad when he retired from the police department. He was a construction guy, handyman, built some residential homes, and he put us on a lot of their crews. And I remember him getting a call. We're driving somewhere. It's one of his project managers. The guy says, "Hey, I've got a flat tire on this trailer. What do I do?" And my dad's like, "If I got to answer that question for you, you're fired." You fix flat tire and you get to work. Figure it out. But, I think for us as leaders in the organization, this is part of our value system. We believe in that servant leadership. My job is not to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
I'm doing something wrong if I got to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure you have the resources to do what you need to do. So whether that's training and skill development, whether that's sometimes, you're going to need to bounce off ideas from more experienced people, and if I can't help you, I can get the right people in the room, but finding a way to procure the resources and support them in accomplishing what you've assigned them to accomplish.
Yeah.
That's what leadership is all about.
Yeah.
It's not about command and control. And that servant leadership is, how we define it in our value system as an organization. That's what, anyone in an organization, if you're a leader in the organization, you need to philosophically align with that, or you'll never become a leader.
Yeah.
It's about serving other people, making sure that you can provide value to them and helping them accomplish what you need them to accomplish and what they want to accomplish ultimately. So I'd say,
and a lot of times
I'd say you certainly, if you haven't articulated that way, I feel like knowing you so well that you certainly embrace that and embody that. So I would disagree that you're
it's the results of a lot of education and the right people, right? Because that wasn't who I was by design, right?
I think military.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
You follow orders no matter what.
Marine Corps, it was here
don't
and
ask
then
questions.
in the PD, and then
that makes a lot of sense.
And then getting out here, and then if you would have told me 25 years ago that the best way to get production out of people is to love on them, I'd have been like
laugh in their face.
Hey, managing a sales, and I came from
So
accounting and
shove their
finance.
face
Managing sales, managing revenue, and managing salespeople is a totally different game, and that emotional component's real.
Oh gosh.
I think of you and I.
When Mike was still the CFO, that was a hard thing to get him to believe at one time. This is a science. If you make this many phone calls, you'll get this many returns. And
this number needs to look like this number, and this number doesn't look like this number.
But your goal is this.
Make this much more money. And then they promoted you and said, "Hey, Mark, you're going to be CFO."
Well, Mike moves into an operator role and starts having to deal with because he wasn't my boss at the time. I was reporting to Mark Jones, and then Mike has to start managing crazy salespeople, and it's funny. It's almost like when a dad has a daughter.
Yeah,
you just kind of softens you up. Not softens you, but you understand things. You're a
little
more patient. Yeah, and it's funny to hear how patient Mike is today.
Like a whole field of study now in behavioral economics because real world business people understand that nothing's textbook, right? That provides some good framework. It provides
teaches you the language to use maybe a little bit.
Yeah. But listen, nothing ever looks like the textbook.
No.
You try to throw a textbook at real world problems, man. You're at the very least, you might survive, but you're certainly not going to thrive or be differentiated or break through. You know?
If you're managing salespeople like Mike and Mark, or Mike and I are, we were jokingly refer to ourselves as unlicensed therapists. You know what I mean? And seriously, and that's even the way Mark manages a lot of people too, and you're managing personalities. But a lot of your most effective kind of management situations are on the couch.
Yeah.
Right, couch side or at dinner.
Maybe not even business related, right? It could be something personal.
Yeah.
That you need to help them navigate through. And if they can't navigate through their personal stuff, there's no way they're going to navigate through
it's
the business
almost always
challenge.
something personal, right?
When I'm in the game, I'm great. And when I'm not, I'm a total shit show, right?
Yeah, your highs are high, your lows are nosedives in the grand
great
canyon.
salespeople have the same symptoms as someone that's bipolar, right?
That's what makes you great, makes you horrible too.
We have a gal, a partner of ours that we've worked with for a long time. She's helped us build a business. And Megan Bailey. Have you met Megan Bailey?
Yeah.
She's an incredible sales
She's like a
professional.
female version of you and I in many respects.
She's the most impressive sales professional I've ever encountered.
No, I've heard her talk when it's not censored, and she will make you blush.
She's got a mouth on her. Yeah,
she'll I think we were I think I brought Paul up to meet you.
That's probably
Yeah, and that's when I met her. And then you were coming down the hallway, and you were still laughing about something where I guess she had said ABC, XYZ, and
listen.
all.
I mean, she's as gritty and hardcore as they come.
Yeah.
But we refer to her as the Ferrari, man. It's the same concept. You're either going, 200 miles an hour,
or
you're in park, right?
Yeah. Or reverse.
And there's nothing in between, right?
No.
And there's nothing you can do about it if you want her to perform at her kind of optimized level.
You got to keep her running at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, let her run at 200 miles an hour, and then when she needs to take her foot off the accelerator and put it in park, you have to just stay away from that person for like 4 days. Let their, maybe a Tesla, plug it back in, let the battery recharge, and then get back out and drive.
Yeah.
See, I always know when I've overstepped with my wife because my wealth manager will call me and be like, hey, did you sign that paperwork yet? I sent it to you in a DocuSign. I was like, what paperwork? She was like, oh, Laura just upped your life insurance. And I'm like, whoa, hello, time. Hey, honey, well, yeah, what do I do?
Start making your kids taste your food first.
Hey, can you taste this? Can you drink that real quick? Okay, we're good, right? So how do we get to taking a company public? I mean, it was if I remember the story correctly, right? It was a friend of yours in college that was working for one storefront shop, right?
Yeah, so I mean, back to Mike's point on kind of relationships, it was a friend of ours that brought Mike, recruited Mike over.
So the story is, the Jones family.
Yeah.
They founded the company, and this was under a different brand and a different strategy at the time. But one of our good buddies, again, good point on the relationship dynamic. Actually, Matt's best friend, they knew forever.
Yeah, well, our head of service, Michael Moxley, Ben Davis, and I were all best friends in high school.
Yeah, all great friends, and obviously I knew those guys really well. When he came out of University of Texas, he came to work for Mark, and this was really early on,
like 4 or 5 employees.
Business.
Yeah,
and then I came when they were. They were wanting to bring on some financial talent because at the time they were pursuing 2 big acquisitions, and this was Citigroup's insurance services arm and Capital One's, and they had some money behind them to do this, and they needed a financial. I was at KPMG at the time, and Ben called me up, and we talked, and I came in and met Mark and ended up coming on board. Right when I started. Both those deals fell apart.
So they brought in the talent.
We gotta have, and at that time I was like, well, I can't go back to KPMG with a black eye.
Yeah.
That wouldn't look good on the resume. I said, they got a good concept. Building a great team and the potential to build a really great team and a great market opportunity and all those dynamics. Made a lot of sense, and I was like, hey, listen, I'm not gonna go anywhere. I wanted to go back to business school. I said, I'm not gonna get into a top 3 business school program. I want to go to Harvard unless this is a successful experience. So I'm gonna try to contribute whatever I can in my capacity to accomplish kind of the goals here, which is to build something, a true success story in our space. Thankfully, I never went back to business school because that would have been a pretty major step back. But that was really the genesis of at least the Colby family integrating with the Jones family and building what has now become Goosehead. And again, we've been through several iterations of strategy and brands, and really kind of learned who we were and how we were going to attack the space. I'd say several years later, and have been on the build ever since, and had great opportunities to in fact, independent of me, our CEO, Mark Jones, recruited these 2 guys, and clearly I was supportive of that because I knew they were smart and talented. 2, I knew that if we had to fire one of them, there'd be no bad blood, and they're rational guys. But it's been a great evolution, and it's been great to work together. I mean, I always tell people, you started the podcast asking about, it's rare that brothers can be so close, but then especially rare when you work together to remain so close. And I'd say I wouldn't have anything to worry. Your brothers tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Right.
And that's super
And
valuable.
any good employer or partner should, right? Any good employer or partner should tell you what you need to hear to be better, and not what you want to hear to feel good about yourself.
So that's a big theme of this podcast and all the guests that we've had. I mean, we've been doing multiple recordings that'll drop. Yours is going to be the first to drop, by the way.
Oh, is it
So,
really?
yeah. September 29th.
Oh,
We're going to start off with Goosehead, right?
All right.
You know, and I mean, come on. You even beat out the gold medalist that you met in the lobby. He's like, why am I not first? I was like, you got plenty of firsts. All these gold medals. But no, it's when I think of you guys, I think of trust, right? And that's been a common theme on all these recordings is trust is the currency of business, not money.
Mm.
And if that's what you're focused on, then guess what? Plenty of money will follow. And I can't think of any three folks that could trust each other more to have each other's back.
I think it's beyond that. I mean, I think our entire senior leadership team has that dynamic. And we've worked, I mean, from our CEO to our general counsel, these guys, Megan, we've worked together for so long.
Yeah.
And we've developed such a strong bond in a relationship of trust that you got to have it to be successful. And I think that's one of our competitive weapons. There's not a lot of management teams that have that relationship.
That ride or die.
Ride or die. Yeah. Listen, I'm here for loyalty. I'm here to accomplish these objectives. A lot of management teams are just, hey, this private equity firm hired this CEO who had a headhunter.
Mercenaries.
There's mercenaries, right? And we got a 5-year commitment. If we don't see this exit strategy, we're kind of done. That's not at all the dynamic of our senior leadership team, and quite frankly, just not the dynamic of our broader, employee group. I mean, people, they're here to accomplish something great. And the IPO was successful. Almost wasn't successful. It's a story for another day, but it was a smashing success by all accounts. If you look at 2.5 years later, where the stock's trading at. But that's just a new chapter. That's not a defining point. That's not a period at the end of the story.
Yeah.
I think that's too many times. For some people it is, not in our organization, but for some organizations it is. But for us, that's just the next chapter, the next challenge, next opportunity.
It was a talent retention strategy,
big time.
Not a talent push out strategy.
We need to do it our talent strategy is core part of our strategy, and if we want to continue to recruit top talent, we got to have wealth creation tools.
So, I mean, you sat here and talked the whole time we were doing this. What about you? This guy, we can get talking. I mean, come on, we know he could be friends with a cactus and a rock, so he doesn't be talking this much.
You haven't met our dad yet. Either.
Right.
He's a lot like Matt, so I didn't get many words in at the dinner table growing up, so I tend to be a little more quiet.
Observant.
Observant.
Makes less mistakes.
Which is why he's the smartest one.
I'm going to wait till these two screw up and then take notes and then not get caught at what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Do the same things, but don't get caught.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What about me?
Well, I mean,
my Goosehead story, or
just, life in general. I mean, you really got the dream, right? I mean, you get to work with your brothers.
Yep.
And you take a company from basically a startup to, just off the charts, successful.
Yeah.
I mean, so what?
Yeah, it was cool. I got hired on I did a couple of internships when I was in college. I got hired on full time from Ernst & Young in 2012, and promoted to CFO in 2014, I believe, 2016 actually. And then 2 years later, we went public, and it was interesting. This whole concept of trust kind of really showed during that period. We had investment bankers, attorneys all come in helping us with this IPO. Investment bankers were telling Mark Jones, the founder, hey, you need to get a CFO with some public company experience. And he basically said, no, I guess we're not going to go public then. And obviously,
this is the leadership team that's built
this
this.
Is who got us here. Dance with who brung you, basically. And they were like, okay, we'll make it work, basically.
Well, that wasn't just a commentary on our CFO, you at the time. That was a commentary about the entire management team, including our CEO. Yeah. Which you don't have any public company experience. That was just one of those obstacles you had to work around. Is say, we were able to, thankfully, with the help of the investment banking team, get through to investors and say, we know how to run this business, right? Yeah. We'll figure out all the legal and accounting stuff that needs to take place, investor relations stuff that needs to take place to run a publicly traded company. But you want the team of people that are creating the value, to continue creating the value.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, demonstration of loyalty, and certainly that, kind of continues to reinforce that relationship of trust.
That must have been a good feeling to have someone show up and go, nope, this is.
No, for sure. And I was all on board for going public, and I was willing to say, hey, I'll take a few years, I'll take a step back and kind of reinsert myself later on down the road, but they wouldn't have it. So it was definitely helped build that trust and keep me here for a long time.
Man, so when I was ordaining this wedding, it still sounds funny. Friday.
I keep expecting the microphone to set on fire.
I kid you not. I asked Callie, who's the bride. I said, "What would you like me to, wear?" I was thinking, what color suit? She goes, "Oh man, you should wear like a robe and a collar." And I said, "Let me break something down for you, sister. The fact that I'm doing a ceremony, there, as my economics professor at my MBA said, is I've got a 95% confidence rating that building's going to get hit with lightning. So the last thing we need to do is extract a metal pole in the middle of it so it doesn't miss, right?" Yeah. But that was what I told him, is Eric's a widow, never expected to be a widow. Callie never been married before, never expected to marry a widow. And I said, look, trust is first. All the other stuff's important, but the other stuff comes once you have trust. You can't have loyalty without trust, right? You can't have love without trust. It's just like you guys working together, there's that level of trust. Me working with my wife, I mean, I trust her. I trust she's going to keep me out of jail.
I'll tell you what, you got to do a whole podcast on that dynamic. I don't know how people do it.
Oh man. So she and I.
That's way more complicated than this.
And way costlier if you get it wrong.
We all like the same shit. We all listen to the same music, watch the same movies. We like everything the same.
Oh man. So it's funny. You remember the cultural index that you guys took?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm extreme in everything that I do, and she's the extreme opposite. So I am all gas pedal, and she's all brake.
She's got to be a super graceful person. Because
man.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. There's been some moments, right? But I trust her, right? And I know she's not gonna do us wrong. She trusts me, Now, she also knows me well enough to go, hey, so on your tombstone, it's probably going to be etched, hold my beer, watch this. But, so she keeps me, she puts the right boundaries in there, but she lets me run like a thoroughbred. And that was a challenge I had. I mean, being in the Marine Corps, right? I was a great Marine. I loved being a Marine, but man, I was boxed in. Yeah. And in the PD for almost 20 years. Man. Boxed in. I was changing units every couple of years just because I was like, I'm trying to find that. I just want somebody to let me run, let me off the leash, and let me power.
I think that's so right. And one of the most insightful things that I've learned from my boss, our boss, our CEO, Mark Jones, is that whole concept of letting a thoroughbred run. He's like, listen, we're all going to have our strengths, we're all going to have weaknesses. The job of a leader is to play to people's strengths. Yeah. If you go in there and try to fix all their weaknesses, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get a mediocre average person.
Well, and you're also
you bring it all their strengths and weaknesses to the middle and make them average. If you play to their strengths and then you minimize the weaknesses so it doesn't kill them, right? Just those weaknesses, then you're going to get the best performance. I think you just articulated that and the dynamic you have with your wife. That's great.
To eliminate their weaknesses, you have to eliminate what makes them great too, and that you don't achieve anything, right? And so
for sure,
you neutralize it to where they just don't shoot themselves in the head. It's like maybe the foot every now and then, but not the head.
Well, how many times have we had that conversation? You do something stupid, and you're either beating yourself up or your wife's beating you up, and at the end of the day, you're like, listen.
You know you're married.
That gets me. You know you're married. That got me in trouble. There's a reason I'm successful. Also, I take the good with the bad.
That is, there's so much. There's so much truth. You know what I find funny about you three as well is y'all are like even like you. I didn't have to look at your cultural indexes to see how different y'all are. Y'all are all three like different, right? Yeah. And which is just super funny. Like. Actually, if I remember correctly, and I can look it up on my phone, I think you've got like one of the top.
I think you just photocopy yours, probably.
Actually,
write my name at the top.
You have, if I remember correctly, and I can look it up, is you have one of the top sales profiles that somebody can have.
Yes, and so,
which makes sense. I mean, I could see absolutely right. You're the reason everybody got in trouble, right? right? Because you're like, hey, I got an idea.
Instigator.
We're probably going to go to jail, but it's going to be a totally dope story.
I think, we all have a tendency to enable each other in that regard.
Yeah, there's a little codependence going on.
There's no idea that Matt has that's a bad idea, and I think vice versa
Trust.
to all of us.
Trust.
I think it's even passed down to our kids. We were in Blue Jack last week, and we had 6 kids running around, and the same thing. Peter running around with some great ideas how to go
Getting all our kids in trouble.
It was really
Pushing
funny.
the kids outside their comfort zone and everyone celebrating it afterwards.
Like, oh, come on. We used to throw rocks at each other all the time.
We ran upstairs, and they had my sister's 3-year-old son jumping off the top bunk onto some pillows that
The smallest one.
the smallest kid there. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny. I've got to look this up. Yeah, so cultural index for us, and I don't know if I've introduced them to you guys, but you.
Yeah, I think we all took your culture.
Yeah,
index
you
stuff.
took it.
But as a business leader, I've never really learned how to deploy that into like the evaluation process for people. And
In the management process, it's helped me learn how to appeal to certain personalities, but
in the recruiting
how
process,
to use it on the front end.
On the front end, we've never really been able to figure that out. And it might just be because we don't have the data, right? I mean, if you're a Fortune 100 company with 10,000 employees and you've been around for 50 years, you've got plenty of data, right, to kind of calibrate it. But I'd be interested to learn from you how we could potentially use that in talent evaluation. I mean, it's really costly to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Either way.
Right.
More costly to have a false positive. But either way, you don't want to miss good talent either, because something in your human, judgment process when you're, it's all judgment call, right? Yeah. You have some resume with a track record, you have an interviewing style, and you try to get multiple, pieces of input from different interviewers. But at the end of the day, it's a very imperfect process.
Right.
And it always will be.
There's no one foolproof way.
If you can introduce new data into it, that'd be I think really beneficial. We just haven't, as an organization, figured out how to do it. So kudos to you. It seems like it's working well for you.
Oh man, we won't take a client unless they take it.
Oh, the clients take it.
All of our clients take it.
I wish we could do that.
Oh man, and here's how I get. I don't know why this thing won't stay on. It's do not disturb. Calls still come through. So the way I pitch it is, if the golden rule is to treat people the way you want to be treated, the platinum rule is to treat them the way they want to be treated. And in order for me to treat you the way you want to be treated, I want to communicate in the way that you process information. And if you take this survey, that if you took longer than 10 minutes to take, then you're something wrong with you. It's literally 60. Then they take it, and I'm able to present information in a way that, confusion creates fear. Fear doesn't get anything done. Clarity creates agreement. Agreement builds trust. Trust gets things done.
Well, you might be able to avoid some asshole clients too.
I'm not saying I'm profiling clients and maybe refer them out if they
refer them to the next competitor.
To the but even on that, so it's funny you say that. So, large part of our business is doing outgoing referrals. I think real estate agents have let the consumer down for year after year after year.
It's the same in our space. Yeah.
Right.
Trying to handle things outside of their market, outside of their scope of knowledge.
Or they're just more concerned with getting their own check than representing someone this is the largest financial purchase of their life, right?
Yeah, let's make it a good experience.
Yeah, and so, we've done incredibly well, here in Fort Worth, but we wanted to take that to a larger stage where when somebody wants to buy or sell real estate anywhere on the planet, we go, we will find the right agent for you. Mm-hmm. And so, man, and that facilitates it, right? So it doesn't do any good if we send them someone that's just some whoever who doesn't deliver. We need that client telling the story again of like, hey, just call Spann. He's going to hook you up with somebody.
I never thought about that really, how you'd use it to really understand how to serve your clients' needs, and certainly how I'm sure you're using it when you're making these referrals as well, making sure you got a good match.
Yeah.
So are you using it as you hire employees as well?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, we use it for the restaurant. We actually found a profile that was better for being a server.
For the restaurant you add on, do you like pizza? And if they say
Right.
yes, you don't like it.
I was like, listen, we're not hiring any
We're not hiring you to
vegetarians
eat
here.
here. We're hiring you to work.
But yeah, it was, so the way it looked like is their A trait was to the left of the bell curve. Their B trait was to the right. Their C trait to the left. And their D trait to the right, which basically means they prefer to be team players. They're very sociable. They have a high sense of urgency, and they like to color inside the lines. So they like to follow rules.
Yeah.
Which, when you're dealing with TABC and
Yeah.
alcohol and everything else,
Cash business. Yeah.
once we started only hiring based on that, we go, hey, take the survey, and then naturally after that we still interview and everything else. We go, this person is going to be the right person for this job, and man, just slaying it. Like, so we're in the process of hiring 2 more people for real estate, and I'll take a year to hire somebody because I want to make sure I want to build something that's here to last. And I don't want to just fill the slot. And so, matter of fact, I got this great guy. He's got the right cultural index. And so the other day he said, hey, I'm going to come work for you. And I said, okay. I said, it's probably going to be about a year before I make a decision. And he's like, what? So I tossed him a Rubik's Cube.
This is Jeremy's test.
I mixed up a Rubik's Cube and I tossed it to him. And he's like, when you can figure out how to do that thing, come see me. So the thing is not because
you'd never hire my ass.
Yeah.
No, but it wasn't.
I don't think I've ever successfully
I got a
completed
2
one of
minute
those.
attention span.
Right.
I'm done.
Oh, you're like, hey, man.
That's
Yeah.
Jeremy's passive-aggressive way of declining applicants.
But here's the thing: is like Laura's like, why would you do that to anybody? And I'm like, I want to see if he's got the ability to figure it out. Because many times, like anybody can sell real estate when it's easy, right?
Would you have considered finding some kid who's really good at Rubik's Cubes to figure it out for you, figuring it out?
No. Because I mean, just because you can solve a Rubik's Cube.
No, it's a real question. I'm serious.
Yeah. No, and,
So problem solver.
yeah, but that's what it was. Is I wanted to see A, does he give up on it?
Yeah.
B, can he figure it out? And it was really this. Matter of fact, if he listens to this podcast for this happen, he's going to really think I'm a total tool. So that's the one with like the 9 on each side. They've got one. It's got like 25 per side. So when he comes back with that one, I'm going to toss him that one. And like, now go do this one, and I haven't even figured that one out.
Yeah.
So, but it's just that way of like, hey, listen, I want someone to work with me that when something's hard, figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not always going to be there where I can answer the phone right away. But I also want to be able to trust you that I would rather you have given effort and made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But you tried.
I mean, that's
100%.
textbook coaching to my guys.
100%.
Is if you're trying to give them some leash to make decisions, I tell them as long as you're ethical, not fraudulent,
Yeah.
Working in
and
the best interest of
you're
your
working the best interest of your
stakeholders,
stakeholders,
Yeah.
you can't screw something up so bad that I can't fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
there's
I'd rather reel you in than have to cast you out. If I'm having to cast you out, you're making me work too much, right?
100%. And that's really what I'm
That's a
looking
good
for.
analogy.
Yeah. So
Fishing analogy. I like
it's
that.
gonna be funny
it
tomorrow.
didn't actually-
Tomorrow, everybody's desk is gonna be a
start
Rubik's
using that
Cube.
shit.
They're gonna be like, "What the shit?"
It
is
didn't
this?"
actually make sense though because reeling is so much harder than casting. So,
Yeah.
but you get it, right? Like I'd
Matt's
really,
gonna be peeling the stickers off and replacing them.
no, I'd really, I tell people that I'd rather have to reel you in than cast you out and get
Yeah.
you out there. Make mistakes. If you're honest, I can fix
Yeah.
it.
I always say, I'd like to pull on the rein. I don't want to have to pull on the reins.
Yeah.
I'd rather actually pull on the reins than have to use a spur
To
to get
kick
you
them
in
in.
action,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, as long as you're making decisions, within the context of like the framework of like integrity and your stakeholders, and you're being smart about it.
Yeah.
You're really intellectually engaging in that process. That's what drives an innovative culture. If you're, people are scared to make mistakes, man, you're not going to create any type of
Well, you're never going to get
innovative
work
culture.
done. You're going to have to do all their work for them.
Oh, so Vincent Hancock, you met, right?
Mhm.
I mean, gold medal in 08, gold medaled in 12, not in 16. And then gets back up, ready to go again to go gold medal in 20, and COVID hits and everything gets delayed. And so we were talking about this, right? Is everybody's so scared of failure. And one of the things that raised my daughter is I said, look, the first time's always a learning opportunity. Now, if you learn from that and you do the exact same thing, then all right, now it's a mistake. Right?
Yeah.
There's going to be consequences that always follow. Got to be accountable for your actions. But I always say, how do you hit that next level without pushing to failure? So when somebody goes, failure's not an option, I'm like, man, I'm trying to push to failure every time to unlock what's on the other side.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's this like, I don't know, entrepreneurial culture where people wear their failures like these badges. And
yeah,
I mean, I think you've, the way I think I've approached it at least, and you guys might have a different opinion, is I have that attitude of I'm not gonna fail, but I'm also have a level of risk tolerance that's going to, understanding there's not this linear relationship between where I'm at today and this point, which I'll define as success. There's a lot of different ways to get there, and I've got to, be innovative and creative, and I have to have tenacity and resiliency to figure out, that path, because nobody can really define what that path is, right?
Yeah.
It's just like making a plan. Say no plan survives war. You got to have some idea of a plan to get there, but not be afraid to deviate off of that. So this notion where, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to take super cavalier risks, and I'm not learning maybe from my mistakes, and I've got these failure badges as some kind of badge of honor. That's never resonated with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to set out to do something unless I'm confident that I can be successful at it.
This billionaire went bankrupt 9 times before he was a billionaire. I was like, damn, think about how rich he'd be if he never went bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you guys? I mean, you've taken a company public and done all this great stuff before any of y'all have hit 40, right? You've fulfilled all kinds of purposes. What's something that's next for you guys? I mean, like what's...
Well, I think Mike said it earlier. I mean, going public wasn't the finish line by any means.
Yeah.
It's almost the starting line, because
new chapter,
it's new chapter, new challenges, and new recognition and new investors that were
such a great runway for growth. And I think we have the team and the foundation and the strategy to be number one in our space. Yeah. And that's the goal. I mean, the type of people that we hire, and we're like this too. We didn't sign up to be number 2 at anything, right? We want to be number 1. And I think we all have a deep kind of sense of confidence that we're positioned to be number 1 if we continue to hold true to the values that have allowed us to be successful up to this point, right? Like integrity, learning, innovating, servant leadership, focus on your core competency. That's a big one in our space in particular.
Yeah.
Where you've got everyone in the insurance business, if it has the word insurance in it, they think, well, we got to be in that business. And the reality is when you take out the different insurance verticals and you do a business definition analysis, not to get too, textbooky here, but, they're all different businesses. A big reason why we're successful is we've said we want to be relevant in one place as opposed to irrelevant across, the entire, industry. And that's been, that'll remain true, going forward. Personal lines is our core competency, which is residential, home, auto.
Yeah.
And it's a $360 billion U.S. market. Hard to understand, and wrap your head around how big that market is. And, we have a market share today that doesn't even register. So we've got a lot of room to grow. We got a great team, a great culture, and I'm looking forward to that next generation of leadership that we're investing in and that we get a lot of fulfillment in, from investing in, to continue, and we'll be there to guide them through their success and their career, and to guide the organization in its continued success. But really, I mean, it's the future of the organization are these young up and coming leaders, and it's our job to invest heavily in them.
Yeah.
And get out of their way.
And then get out of their way and let them do their job.
I mean, really, that's
sure.
really, you look where I kind of think all of us took off as leaders.
And that's the most fun part of the job.
We got that point.
That's what I love doing.
Yeah.
So Matt, you could go back and talk to 22-year-old self. What is one takeaway? And I'm sure there's a million. Everybody's always got a million. But what would be the one takeaway that you could go back and
September 15th, 2002. Don't go out. It's not a real date, so no one start Googling my name and that date. It's not going to pop up. No.
Don't.
No, I I think I would have had, there's a word my mom uses, and I've heard people use since, stick-to-itiveness. Stick-to-itiveness. I don't know if it's a real word, but
Focus.
Focus. But it's not even a matter of focus. When I'm focusing on something, I was doing it. But I was kind of the kid who, if I was playing sports and I just went into it, I probably would have quit mid-season, and not seen it through as a kid. And I really don't think I developed that see it through kind of focus and stick-to-itiveness that my mom would always say until I was older. And I think it would definitely be along the lines of focus on one thing. Do not compare yourselves. I think that's a real issue of kids right out of college. And that's why they say you shouldn't talk, religion, politics, and money. Is I've seen a lot of really brilliant kids leave our company right out of, a year in, 2 years in, who could have been rock stars. Because they're having a paycheck measuring competition with every one of their friends who all had different majors, all took different career paths, but they set these arbitrary definitions of success at a young age. And I can just tell you right now, had I had similar definitions, we all probably went to that stage where if I make $100,000 a year, I've made it. If I have a 2-story house, that means rich and all that. And, I think I went through a stage in my early 20s where I compared myself to two other people arbitrarily too often.
Yeah.
And I think it almost resulted to like my demise in this business. I think I tried to quit at one point. Or I know Mike and them had to probably slap me around and have more head game talks than they wanted to have at that stage. And I think that's something that also social media is promoting and causing more of. And I think it's extremely important in your late teens, early 20s to not live a comparative life. Live your own life. Do what makes you happy. If you believe you're going to be successful, you can do it. Regardless of where you are today and what you've done up until now. And I think I sold myself short and didn't stick to some projects early on and see some things through because of that immaturity and because of that just senseless comparative kind of mindset that I think is unwise. And I've seen lots of great people end careers early and prematurely.
That's great advice.
Yeah. What about you there, Marky Mark?
I think my number one regret, just in that college age time frame, as Matt said earlier, we all worked throughout college, worked 2 jobs. Matt and I bartended together in college, and I worked an office job.
Though. That was nice.
Well, I had a lot of debt coming out of college still, but I think my number one regret is not hanging out with more kind of A&M folks. It was more the bar crowd, just because those are the people that I spent the most time with bartending every night, and not making more than a couple kind of deep friendships at A&M. Right, and I think I feel like I missed a lot of college life, right? Like not living in the dorm at all in my first year, which is
those are some missteps. I wish I would have stayed in that dorm.
I think I didn't get the full college experience, just A, because I was working too damn much, but and B, just because I kind of picked some wrong friends there that I don't even talk to anymore, right? So I think that's always something I think back on my kids when they go to college. I want them to embrace that life more and not have to grind.
It's a lesson in who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. So I dropped out at 17 and went to Marines. So when I was sending my daughter to college and she was just stressed over whatever she was going to study, I said, I got a degree in foreign policy. Never used it. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Get the college experience. Enjoy it because at 22, when you step off in the real world, even though you can still go have fun, responsibility sets in, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get to turn back the hands of time to go, hey, wait a minute, I want to time out, I want to do a do-over, right?
Well, learn. I mean, if I were to give advice to a college kid, it's learn how to learn. That's I think the most valuable thing. I didn't enjoy learning until I was in that college kind of age.
I didn't enjoy learning till business.
Yeah, because
I hated everything from start to finish.
The world around you changes rapidly, and you got to be always learning. And if you can learn how to enjoy that process, I think it's great. And then also invest, like to Mark's point, invest in those relationships. That's really good, good advice for a college age kid, anyone entering their career.
Okay, so what about you? You go back and have a conversation with 22-year-old
Man, I'll tell you, it's really easy for me to come to answer that question because I think I've chilled out quite a bit, over the last
in what respect?
Decade or so. Just not wound up so tight. Not super stressed, all the time. But, early on in my career, you're setting goals for yourself and then you're just laser focused. I'm going to hit this goal or die trying. And the next goal and the next goal. And I think one of the more important pieces of advice that I got that I wish I would have, really embraced earlier in my life. It came from my boss, Mark Jones, who's been, my main mentor and one of my closest friends. He said, you gotta learn to enjoy this process, enjoy this journey. It's not about where you're going, and it sounds kind of cliche, but it's so true, especially when you're type A, especially when you have a chip on your shoulder. And you got something
Especially
to
when you see
prove.
some of your friends doing better than you're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish and now I think I just have a little more perspective. It's a lot easier for me to enjoy the process and not be all worked up about, how fast I get there. I mean, obviously, velocity matters and, time is of the essence, but I think had I had that mindset early on, I would have enjoyed these great experiences that I had kind of more fully.
Mm-hmm.
I get to enjoy them in retrospect, but in the moment, I maybe didn't fully appreciate that. And you know what? Quite frankly, as important as relationships are to me, I'm amazed at how sharp my elbows were, in that process. And I could have had some more compassion. I could have listened more, been more empathetic. That all comes with, just that perspective of saying, this is a process. I'm going to enjoy this process. That's the advice to my 22-year-old self. And as I wouldn't say it was a light bulb when I had that conversation with Mark, but I certainly sunk in. And since I've focused on that, enjoying the journey,
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to be great sometimes. Things can be super challenging, but enjoying that process, I think it's done amazing things. I mean, not just to my career, but to my personal well-being.
Yeah.
My well-being.
Yeah.
No, I think it's when you're young like that, you get so dialed in on how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And we preach this all day at work is this, if you want to have a bunch of like-minded people like we do, and you are deeply dialed in on what I want and why I want that, how always works itself out.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I spent less time wondering what really I wanted to do, why I wanted to do it, and more about how am I going to get this done?
You hit on this earlier. You're saying, look, if the trust is there and the values are there, all the great material things will follow, and that's what we teach to our young folks, and not just our young folks, and something that we have to continually focus on as professionals is if you come to work every day with that servant leadership mentality, which is not focused about yourself and that next promotion, or that next raise, or your kind of personal economics in this particular deal. If you're there and saying, okay, I know who my stakeholders are, right? My shareholders, your vendors, your employees, your customers, clearly the most important stakeholder. If you're focused on the people around you, obviously, and helping other people be successful, if you're focused exclusively across kind of those stakeholders and not at all about yourself, it's weird how it happens, but you're taken care of. You know what I mean?
Man.
The money comes,
Yeah.
the professional growth comes, the fulfillment, the happiness comes, the promotions come, all those things come if you're focused externally on the stakeholders.
There's a good book on that. I presented on Give and Take today for our leadership development program that we have, where we take a bunch of kind of junior people who want to be on the leadership path, and they, for each set of executives, they have a book they read that appeals particularly to that executive's skill sets.
Yeah.
And Megan and I host Give and Take together, and it's a great book by Adam Grant. It's one of the few business books I've read in the last few years that I really loved.
I'd really recommend. Yeah.
Yeah, 99% of them you can figure it out in the first chapter. You don't have to read all the case studies, but
Read the table
but it's a really good book on just how to be, and I think that's I remember Mike told Mark Jones, I was like, what is it about? When Mike recommended him, he's like, kind of everything you taught us, right? And everything Mike has taught me, and Mark has witnessed. I'd say I taught Mark, but that would imply that he learns from me instead of what not to do, or what not to do than what to do. Probably no, but then Mark has learned by observing both of us, and when I talk to people every single day, I'm trying to hammer that in. Is if you're playing tit for tat and keeping score, you're gonna lose. Yeah, you're gonna lose more. I think the people who don't keep score and do it because it's the right thing to do, which I think is a trait that you don't see enough these days. But those people always ascend and rise to the top.
It's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of an inherent part of our personality. I struggle to think that that's actually inherent. It's got to be some kind of. I never really reflected on why has that kind of mindset been so easy for us to embrace and adopt. Because I don't think it's very natural to
Well,
human beings
and
to
we
be. Cause you think about it as kind of a leap of faith. You're saying,
Mm-hmm.
if I do the right thing here and I take care of the people that rely on me and I create value for them, I'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
But I certainly, would say it's worked out for me in my career.
Yeah.
Your real estate, this is going to be seen by a lot of real estate people, probably a lot of people in sales. And I think that's you embody that mindset of what can I do for my network before I look to get value from my network. Mm-hmm. And if you always approach your network that way of how do I add value before I take value, and that should be every relationship you have, I think it works out in the end.
So the name of this podcast is Winning Strategies Playbook. And the Colby Trifecta embodied that with this recording today. And man, so people want to know more about Goosehead, whether they want to franchise or need insurance. Where do they go?
21st century, brother.
Yeah, go to the web, right?
If only they had a website we could go to.
Google Goosehead.
Find any site.
If there's only this magical thing called the World Wide Web.
Yeah, I still laugh when I see people debating like who has the record in this for like an hour. I'm like, guys, a world of information. This problem, all problems have been solved for in this scenario.
Hey, but this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good luck with the series. We'll certainly be tuning in.
Oh man,
sure.
I knew when. So Erin is great. She's with people like me. It's better to get information out of me by asking me questions than talking to me. And when we got done after probably many more hours than she wanted to spend, was this thing is really our target audience is high performers.
Mm-hmm.
And when we discussed that, I was like, oh, I mean, I've got a lot of high performers in my network, but you guys were the very first ones that popped in my mind, just because, as we talked about, here today, just three brothers that get along, they built a company. It's just, that's really unique, right? And that's how I wanted to start this series out, where, the goal is, which was really funny, I think I primarily held to it, is y'all talk 80% of the time. I sit back and only talk 20% of the time. Really throws a lot of people off. Requires me to pay attention, which wears me out. But this is great. So people are going to tune in, hear the stories, because it might be the Colby Trifecta where somebody goes, you know what? I can go do this, right? Or I want to go do this, or even better, they say, hey, I want to be one of your franchisees, or whatever the right terminology is. Or,
no, that's the right terminology.
People find it useful. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
To tell a story with my brothers and to talk to you. It's always fun talking to you. So. And
I stayed pretty much PG-13.
We all stayed pretty PG-13.
Highly unusual, man.
You're a reverend now. You have to, right?
Oh, yeah. The good Dr. Deacon Spann. I was telling people,
you need to start playing golf, man. That's living clean.
Oh, yeah. Let me swing some metal in the sky. That's really going to help me, right? I told him, I was joking around. I was like, man, I killed it so much. The next one of these I do, I'm going to pass around offering plates. It's probably going to struck by lightning as I walk back to my vehicle on it. No, gents, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for making this fun. This is what I wanted to be. I didn't want it to be all serious. I want it to be like good casual, hey, let's have some fun.
For sure. Good time.
Really fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, later on.
Thank you for watching this episode of Winning Strategies Playbook. We really hope you got a lot of value out of our guests today. If you want to know more about the guests, you can go to our website, myexperiencerealtor.com, and be sure to subscribe on this channel so that way you don't miss another episode. If you're looking to buy and sell real estate anywhere on the planet, also go to our website, myexperiencerealtor.com, and we will be sure to get you connected with someone that can help you represent your interests the way you should be represented. Tune in for our next episodes. We look forward to seeing you again.